MMA UK, Abdul-Ahad Patel. I'm here with Kieran Williams. Kieran, how you doing, my man?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Feeling ready. Enjoying training at the moment. Like I said, I just had that win, so I feel sweet at the moment, and I've got another one in 2 weeks. So let's bring it on.
The fun don't stop. So last time we caught up was Golden Ticket Fight Promotions. I think it was at 14.
14 or 15. I think that was two shows. I think I was on 14. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
16 was just on yesterday, or 15. I can't remember. Yeah, it was the one in June anyway. So
So we last caught up on Golden Ticket, and obviously things didn't go your way. But since then, you fought on Almighty Fighting
fought on
Championship.
Almighty. Yeah, that was the week before last, or on the 18th of September. So that was 10 weeks after the last one in Golden Ticket, so it was almost straight back into camp. Correct the errors that I made in the last one. Do you know what? I fought a good fight. That last fight, if anybody watches it, the first round, I killed it. Started off standing up, took him down, shot in, took him down, and it was 95% my round. I think the last 10 seconds, maybe 15 seconds, he overturned the position. But it is what it is. Possibly could have been a 10-8 round. Second one was close, kind of swayed his way, he took me down. It was almost like the fight was a battle of whoever took who down was going to kind of cement their place in that round. And then the third round it was a 50-50 battle. I went in for the shot, but it was a lazy shot. He managed to get the double underhooks and get a better position of me. And then sunk in a dust, and before I knew it, it was out. So it was unfortunate, but I think, personally, if I was to run that one back, it wouldn't go the same way. I think I rushed things. I didn't almost mentally want to have that battle on that day because I'd been out of the fight game for what, a year and a half. So it wasn't like I didn't want to fight, but it was just like I wanted to get this done as the easiest way possible. So I kind of rushed things and was swinging. Whereas if you look at that last fight, don't know if you've watched it, but I was so much more reserved. I was just waiting, patient, feinting and faking, moving around. The guy could barely touch me, and I was more confident standing up, and just more mentally and physically prepared for that fight.
Yeah, so you last fought on Almighty and first round knockout. Um, and what I think what was more impressive about that fight was that you was using your reach, you was using your hands, but also your fight IQ was more aware of where his hands were going. That's what I clocked.
Yeah,
And then I noticed then obviously the hands just flowed and then the body went to the
exactly that,
floor.
bro. Listen, it was a battle. Like I see, he was doing the same thing. Like like the commentary said, we were both experienced amateurs. I think there was like 18 fights between the two of us. He's coming from Team Cowbon, which is obviously a world-renowned gym, also in Liverpool, where obviously I'm out of Aspire. So it had everything to be a good fight. And I could just see it was Southpaw versus me being an orthodox. I was winning the outside battle and just feeling them out, not throwing too much. I think there was a few shots that were rushed, and I was trying to throw that right down the pipe. Um, but when he was kicking me, the kick was coming in slow. I don't know whether it's because it was first round he was feeling that I didn't want to put too much in it, but I could read it, and it kept on coming in. And I was just, every time I touched my guard, I was like, right, as soon as this opportunity comes, I'm going to counter it. Back me up against the cage, you threw the kick, and then threw the kick again, and then bang, straight in his face, and the guy folded. So it is what it is. Again, like I said, if we run that one back, he probably thinks that it'll probably go a different way as well. So it'll be an interesting one to do in the future if we wanted to do that as well. So
Definitely. So 5-5 as an amateur, and then just under 2 weeks time for Battle Arena back in Gloucester. How you feeling about that one?
excited, excited, massively excited. I've never fought in Gloucester before. Obviously born and raised in Gloucester. Um, Started fighting in Gloucester, but there's never been any shows. I think just as I started fighting, the shows kind of stopped in Gloucester. I know Paul Severin used to run that Ultimate Impact, I think it was called,
Yeah.
back in the day, but that kind of stopped. He's obviously had the Meltdown ones, which would be more Bristol sides. But now I'm excited to do the business in Gloucester. I've got so much more people coming as well, because obviously you got friends that travel to these other shows, but there's more family, like my grand's coming and all this, so
Yeah,
it's going to be a good one. It's going to suit me just to do the business in town as well.
definitely. So, do you know much about your opponent? So, you're fighting Battle Arena 16th of October. And do you know much about your opponent going into this one?
You know what? I don't. I know him. I know of him. I don't know him. He's obviously, I think he's from Gloucester, or I know his dad's gym's in Tewkesbury, which he trains out of. His dad's known in the game. He's been in the game for a long time. So I know that Jack's gonna have been in and around martial arts his whole life. I'm assuming he's been training his whole life, so he's gonna be well skilled and well equipped for the fight. I've watched a couple of his fights. He's fought one of the same guys as me, on that Stand and Strike show. Um, the guy he was fighting wasn't high level. We both went a distance with that guy. My fight, I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago. I'm not sure when his was, maybe 2019. Um, Listen, that fight there that I watched, there was nothing that was impressive. But then again, that was 2 years ago, and the same thing. If you watch that fight what I had with the same guy, I don't think that was a very, you know, impressive performance by me as well. So we're just gonna see what he brings on the day, I think.
Yeah. And have you seen any of his more recent fights?
He hasn't really fought more recently. I think he fought that Tyler James, which is somebody I've been matched up with a couple of times, but he's dropped out on me. Um, the results from that whole show wasn't updated onto Tapology, so I can't see. I think he won that one as well. I think he's either 3-1 or 4-1. So I haven't been able to see that fight. I don't think it's on YouTube either. But again, the guy who's fighting was just, I think he's like an ex-juice head. He's not really technically great, hands down. He kind of just rushes you and tries to use his strength in the wrestling. So I don't need to watch that fight.
Yeah, bloody Tapology always letting us down. But okay, so do you think though him watching your last fight, what I know you're not going to give it away and tell us what he needs to be careful of, but him obviously watching your last fight compared to the 1, 2, 3 years ago is a different beast, is a different animal going into the game. Someone more experienced and someone that's potentially touching pros as well. So is there any sort of game plan, or is there any sort of idea how you're going to go into this fight? Obviously, you don't know too much about him as of recently, but going from what you know now, what is the plan going forward?
Boy, in terms of this fight, I'm not going to give away game plans too much. Obviously, like I said, I've watched him. I know what I'm I've got several areas I know I can kind of bring to him and see if he can manage them. Like I said, everybody knows my striking's good, especially when I'm performing well. My wrestling's good. I've kind of shown that in the Ryan Lockyer fight, when I'm offensive with it. So that would be an option as well in the fight, depending on how it goes. But like I said, I don't even know what he's going to bring for me. I don't know if he's going to try and stand with me, whether he's going to try and bring it to the cage wall, bring it to the floor. But I'm ready. In terms of my plans moving forwards, obviously I'm not overlooking this fight. Going to have this fight and win, and hopefully fight again before the year's out. I know Golden Ticket have got a show on at the start of December, which my eyes are firmly on after this one. So just staying active as possible this year. That would have been what's this? This is my third fight, so 4 fights in this year. This second half of the year, which is, I think it's good going. And then I'm gonna have a period over the winter just to strength and conditioning block and kind of get ready for five round fights at 3 minutes. Maybe try and go for a title fight. Before looking at obviously the options at turning pro. So that's the plan.
Sounds good. It sounds like a well prepared sort of future ahead of you. And the other thing I was going to say to you is, how do you stay? Like, obviously, you're fighting so much and so often within the year. Like, what's your process for like any other amateurs or even professionals listening to this? When you talk about weight cutting and staying on weight for fights that are kind of weeks apart, like what's the process like for you?
For me, like I said, at the moment I've got my body in a position where I'm not having to do massive weight cuts, so it's not taxing on my body, it's not unhealthy. I can go, as long as I'm injury free and I'm fresh, I can go every month, every few weeks if I need to. And I think to other amateurs, especially ones that are up and coming, I'd just say just stay active as possible, because the amateurs are where you're going to get your experience. You're going to get some big learning curves, and you're going to grow as a fighter more, because when you turn pro, the opportunities to fight won't be as often, especially if you're signed to one of the bigger promotions. You might only be fighting 3 times a year. So why not get the experience now where you can fight as many times as you want, maybe potentially up to 10 times a year. I know people like Fabian Edwards, I think he fought 9 times in 1 year and turned pro. Look at the career he's having. So yeah, just staying as active as possible. I haven't got a massive weight cut, so there's no issues on my body there. So yeah, I'm just good to go whenever.
Nice, great. And moving a bit forward, did you catch the Bellator show this gone weekend? Douglas Lima versus Michael Venom Page. What do you make of that fight?
It was a battle of tacticians. I think Douglas Lima is obviously a very, very high level fighter, and I think probably more high level than most of the opponents that MVP has come across before. MVP success in terms of closing that range relies upon people rushing and not knowing how to kind of close the distance and just kind of walking into his shots, into his backhand. Douglas Lima wasn't doing that. He was waiting, waiting for that leg kick, waiting for that counter, which made a bit of a stale fight. But I enjoyed watching it. I know a few casuals have said it was a rubbish fight. I enjoyed it. It was a good fight to watch. I think it was razor close. I was kind of edging towards MVP, but I can see why a lot of people think Lima won it. But I just think most of the rounds, I think round one it was like 50-50. The first half of the round, MVP was winning and was outstriking him, and then the second half of the round, I think it was 2 minutes 38. The takedown happened, and so it was 50-50 in time. But Lima wasn't able to use anything because he just nullified him. MVP just grabbed his wrist, and that grip strength, by the way, is just unreal. How he just was able to hold his wrist and stop the strikes the rest of the round. So I just think there wasn't much damage done. But I was more impressed by MVP. You know, the shots that he did. He dropped him twice in the first round. I think there was more damage there done.
It was a difficult one to watch because when you're looking at it for the entertainment factor, it wasn't as entertaining as you thought it would be, like the first one. But obviously, both fighters going to come in calculated. They're both going to come in a way where they're not going to expose themselves too much. The other thing is for me watching that, the judges I thought must have had a hard time because Lima scored the takedown in the first round and the second round. But then when it came to striking, obviously MVP had knocked him down twice, I think in the first round and once in the third round. So it's like, how do you score that? But then again, like you made a valid point that he was holding on to the wrist when it was on when he got him down to the floor, so he wasn't actively doing anything. And at points, I think the referee was like considering, do I stand him up? So the reason why I ask you that is because, like yourself, you're quite tall in structure. And is like MVP, is he one of those? Because I can see glimpses of him in you when you're fighting and when you're keeping people at range. Yeah. There's that bounce in your stance as well.
There can be. I used to fight a lot like that, especially when I was under the guidance of Mark Wee. Obviously, it's very similar backgrounds. I know MVP's dad was in the taekwondo and the karate game as well. So we got that similar style. But I did taekwondo as a kid, but I never really took it far. So I never got to that black belt level like MVP would have. So I don't have that kind of that background where I've got that, and that's kind of my fight style. I've got a whole different, I've been to Thailand multiple times. I've done Muay Thai. I used to fight K1 back in the day before I started fighting MMA. So I've got all these other styles, and most of the style of kickboxing I've been doing in the last year or two has just been Dutch kickboxing in K1. More of the time you'll probably see in my fights to start in that kind of Dutch kickboxing style and keep it very basic, keep my guard tight, and then as I get more confident, those ones where I'm picking people off, I kind of bring out some of the fancier stuff and using my distance a bit better as well. So I've got multiple different styles, and it depends obviously what's in front of me and the best way I think to work out that opponent.
Yeah, I mean, very well said. I mean, I remember back in the day it was predominantly the kickboxing and the stand-up was more your game, but I mean, you've come a long way, like especially when you see your ground game, your takedowns and your defense as well along the fence and on the ground. So you train with some giants in your gym, don't you? You got the likes of Lexi Rourke, you've got UFC fighters there, you've got like world-renowned coaches in there. How are they like? They're obviously shaping your game in a great way because you've come a long way. But how is the process in the gym? How are things going, and how are you bonding with your teammates?
It feels like I've been in that gym from the beginning. It's just a sick environment. There's just so many people. Everyone's on the same page. Everyone's trying to become full-time athletes. Everyone's got that same goal. There's no, in terms of the pro classes or the main classes, it's not like a hobbyist gym. It's serious. If you're on the fight team, you're there to do a job. It's not taking part. You're there to win. So there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of expectation, obviously, with the training, which obviously keeps everybody driving. The mats are full morning and night, so you've got bodies all the time, very, very high levels. I'm 26, so I feel like I need to kind of step it up. So when I came to that gym, there's certain bodies there that are just touching 20, and they are fantastic. So a lot of my immediate role models in that gym are 6 years younger than me, so it's gone one of those things where I know I'm just in the right gym because their development, you can just see it through the kids. There's kids that are 15 years old that are so skillful. They're all fighting today as well, so yeah.
Nice. So I take it they're fighting on the Arnold Classic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And have you seen much of their preparation in order for this?
Do you know what? I think there's four. There's Shay, Sophie, Lewis, and Saskia. Now these people, if you see the way they train exactly the same way as me, if not more. Especially Shay and Sophie. They're training morning and evening. Probably clocking 4 or 5 hours, maybe 6 hours a day, training as well. So they've got everything they need mentally and the tools around them, the coaches around them to make sure that they're the best they can be.
And I think you have to give props to people that have formed a sort of MMA community in the past coming years, where IMAF has obviously been developed and pushed forward, and you're seeing some real young, talented athletes that are very hardworking as well, and very disciplined. And you got the likes of the young guns at your gym, and then also I know here in Gloucester we got Paul Sutherland's children at Children Free Fighters, and when you see the talent that comes out, it's phenomenal. Like they're able to do things so quickly and so easily because they're obviously in that age where they could be molded in a great way, and it's something to take inspiration from and motivation from. Like you said, you went in a little bit older than some of these guys, and it's obviously pushed you. Going onto the topic of being in Gloucester, you're fighting in your hometown. I'm sure you're going to see some of your old teammates on the cards as well. How do you feel about that? Because obviously, I know it's not the case of a rivalry, but it's kind of like if you had to fight someone from your gym on a professional card, the job's got to be done, hasn't it?
I have no problems with it. I have no problems with fighting anybody. If they're in the same path as me, and I think it's an opportunity that makes sense, then let's do it. Obviously, I have respect for everybody in that gym. They were my training partners for a long time. There's a lot of them going on to do good things in the sport. So, if that ever comes about, then it will always be respect. There'll be no disrespect. There'll be no, we're just there to do a job, and that, as normal anyway, the sportsmanship will be there, and it will be, obviously, if we're in camp and I'm fighting somebody from that gym, then I'm not going to be in that gym, because sometimes I do still go to Mark's gym when I'm in Gloucester, still very close with the team. There'll obviously be a time where I can't go to the gym if obviously they're training to fight me and I'm training to fight them, but I can't foresee it being a problem. I think, get the fight out of the way and then we both move on with our career, depending on obviously who it is.
Yeah. And of course, that's just a long shot. There's like no say that would happen, but it's good to know that, because it's important to reach out to other gyms and other camps and get knowledge from other coaches and other fighters, because like martial arts doesn't stop at your gym, does it? And it's good that like you've obviously got that relationship with Mark still, and you've got a good relationship with your current coaches where you can go out and branch out and learn. So October the 16th, Battle Arena. Any predictions?
Boy, same result as last time. I don't think it would be as quick. I'm gonna say round 2 lights out.
Round 2 lights out. Okay. And then, I suppose there's no denying or doubting that can't happen with recent events. Listen, Kieran, I appreciate your time. Thank you for coming in and giving us this interview. Hopefully, again, you both go in as healthy fighters and come out as healthy fighters. And hopefully we catch up on a post-fight interview. Alright, my man, take care.
Cheers, man.